next commitment is federalism, right? So we're going from historical Christianity to federalism, which seems like a big jump, big difference. Federalism, obviously, one of the most helpful doctrines when it comes to um, our American Constitution. And we've got the Federalist Papers, Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, James Madison. I forgot how many, it's like 80 or 90 plus papers in the Federalist Papers. I have it just over here. But yeah, and so federalism, is the division of powers, the separation between the national government and quote unquote the federal government, which can kind of be a little confusing, but think state government. And so, Isaiah, do you have any comments on just the benefits of federalism when it comes to, just our republic?
Yeah, the United States has, especially when you consider it from the time of the founding, a unique political order that tries to um, really, if you look at kind of classical political philosophy, tries to bring together a lot of different uh, strands there, developed initially by people like Plato and Aristotle, and towards closer to the time of the founding, you think of people like Montesquieu and Locke, who were uh, intellectual influences on the founding. But essentially, trying to balance all these different interests that when you have a large political community, you're going to inevitably have, um, and not, avoiding pure democracy or pure aristocracy or absolute monarchy or something like this, to try and reach kind of a virtuous middle ground
Mhm.
that brings all these different interests together
Mhm.
to pursue what's best for the common good.
Mhm.
And so I think it's important for Christians in America today to understand both what the desire and the purpose of the founders in creating the institutions of government that we have today, why
Mhm.
they did that, what they were trying to preserve, and then also, most of us know that the way government works today is in many ways very different than it was at the founding. But it's at the same time, a lot of the same frameworks are there, and there's so much that the average person can do politically at the local
Mhm.
level, at the state level, um, that often I think are overlooked.
Mhm.
We get caught up so much in the national conversation and what the president said yesterday about this and that. And while those things are certainly important, when it comes to questions of how do we as Christians, as the church, go out and be a positive influence on the life of our country, on the life of our communities, for most of us, we can't really do much about what's happening in Washington
Mhm.
D.C. Some of us can, and we should, but many of us, the best thing we can do is be invested in the life of our town, our county,
Mhm.
our and even our state. It's much easier actually to influence uh, those levels of government, um, and they're there for that reason. They're there so that the people uh, can participate, and so it's easy to get bogged down, I think, in the headlines that most people can't do much about, other than maybe vote once every 2 to 4 years, and hope that the person we elect makes the right calls. But really, there's so much outside of that, in addition to that, where Christians can show up and make their voices heard and run for offices, and sometimes get elected to offices that have a lot of influence, but that are maybe not as public, at least in front of the whole nation. And that's I think areas where we want to see Christians really lean in.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, understanding from the big picture why America is designed the way it is politically, why, and and then within that framework, engaging it for the glory of God.